Here we go again, one more day of Linktober. This one ended up taking 3 days. Not my proudest work, but those Koroks took a long time. And today I was smart, and I started writing down things that I thought would be of importance to talk about on a sticky note before recording. Because I realized after pretty much every video that I'd missed something that I'd wanted to talk about. For this page, it actually ended up getting reworked several times, because while I was planning out the next 4 pages, I thought there were only 3 pages, and completely forgot about tomorrow's prompt, so I ended up squishing a bunch onto this page, only to realize that A, I had left out 2 panels that I'd wanted, and B, I had a whole nother page to use the other panels that I'd squished on. So this page kind of turned into a mishmash, and used a page format that I'm not exactly crazy about, but I think it worked, and I think the page still flows. It's just really simple. I also definitely wanted to have it where he's going deeper and deeper into the forest, and he's walking through, and more Koroks are just joining in and following him like, ooh, person, we're gonna follow this guy. And he's just getting irritated because as much as I love the Koroks, those little like jingly clinky noises that they make in the games, that's nice until you've heard them like a billion times over. And then they get annoying. So I figured, let's have Mr. Generic Protagonist Man just get annoyed, and then he turns around and they're all gone. Like, where'd they go? What? The next page is gonna just have him a bit confused there on, why are they not here? They should be here. As for making the Koroks, that was painful because I've never actually drawn a Korok in my life, so I had to figure out the proportions and how I wanted to do it, and even then I kind of made this little guide to draw them, and that guide didn't like me. I drew them according to the guide and then found out I didn't like how they looked, so I had to keep messing with them and editing them, and eventually I got it, but not until like Korok number 7. And even just drawing 9 Koroks on the 6th panel, that was really painful. Thankfully, searching around Google, I managed to find an image with pretty much, I think, all the different Korok leaf shapes, or at least in Breath of the Wild. And I think it had all the different colors, so that worked out nicely. And I also ended up having to get a color palette off of each of them, because images, especially JPEGs, don't like it when you increase their size by 15 times, and then they get all messy. So I had to make little color palettes next to each Korok, and to not directly copy off that, what I did was I ended up switching the color palettes around, since I know that all the different Koroks can kind of use whatever palette they want. Though I'm getting the feeling, considering that there's 900 Koroks in the game, that there are just these 9, there's either just these 9 variants of Korok leaves and a 10th color that's not on this image, or there's a 10th Korok leaf shape that's not on this image. I'm leaning toward that there's a missing color set here. Just because 9 times 9, that don't work. Or 90 times 9. I'll need to think this over more. I'm clearly not thinking. The boss fight is coming up very quickly, and soon I will be there, and that's why I was planning ahead for more pages, just because the boss fight pages are going to be very dynamic. I'll probably talk more about that later, but kind of upset with the page format, but whatever, I'll get there. Back on this page, for the background I ended up cheating again, just like the last page, and what I did was I just kind of copy-pasted that really nice looking background that I made in the last page to the background of all of these, and then editing it ever so slightly for each page to make it fit where I needed to, and then taking my airbrush and just adding more clouds to make it look like it blended in so there wasn't a hard line anywhere. it it's moments like these where you really appreciate the fact that Clip Studio will let you do the stupidest stuff, like, oh, I don't know, take an image and blow it up 100 times just to fit it into this one little corner. It's honestly really great. And aside from that, it was another way that I tried to make it just kind of fit in the background is I blurred it to hell on most of the pages, except for the pages where you were focused actually in on the background. Just because blurring it out makes the background seem like it fits there and not like the same thing over and over and over, which is something I liked. I also found out how to do a radial blur without taking almost an hour. And the trick to that was you do the radial blur, but you only select a small area on the page. And only that area gets radial blurred, and that goes a lot faster than Clip Studio having to try and figure out what to do on the entire page. Do note though, Clip Studio doesn't normally run that slow for a radial blur. It just doesn't like the fact that I'm sitting here with a billion layers on a document at 600 dpi that's just stupid big. I don't know exactly how big because I don't know millimeters to inches, but it's big, and I can't even remember the exact millimeters, so that's a bust. And also Clip Studio has this kind of comic page viewer thing, because you can make a comic book and then edit each page as a part of the larger comic, which is exactly what I'm doing for this entire thing. And you can see the pages side by side because it clumps them together in groups of 2 to show you what spreads will look like. And I was working on this one, and the best thing is that this page and the last page just kind of makes the entire spread for these 2 pages, which is 7 and 8, just all blue, and I really like that kind of blue hue going on. I'm pretty sure on the next page there'll be a transition of color, probably from blue to like blues and purples and reds, because that's what villains are. So that should be pretty interesting. I'd talk more about the boss because I had some great ideas for the boss, but I'll save that for the actual boss page proper. As for everything else on this page, it was really just a lot of drawing and redrawing the same thing over and over. The painful part really just being the Koroks and being the stripes on them, and making sure the stripes were consistent between all the pages. And then making sure I had the light right, because this area, while it is cloudy, I had to make sure that there wasn't too much light on him, just because not a lot of light is going to get in there. There's ambient light, sure, but for the most part, all the light's going to be top down, rather than like actually from a side and lighting half of him up. So in the end, I ended up just doing a little bit of top down, and then making sure there was light rays just kind of everywhere. I also used Clip Studio's tree floor, sunrise going through trees kind of image texture thing, and threw that on the ground for some variation on the ground, because it would be boring without that, and I didn't feel like completely texturing another area like I did for the first page and the second page and all those pages of grass that were so painful. The Koroks were already painful here. I'm not doing more pain. It sounds like pain's a drug. Whatever. All in all, I think this was actually a pretty fun page. Fun in air quotes, because I didn't have much time to work on it. But it was actually kind of interesting to look at all the different Koroks and analyze just what exactly composed each Korok, what made them just slightly different from the others, aside from the mask. Because even their body shapes, you can't just kind of copy paste. They all have slight variants on each other, which makes it really interesting. And that's pretty much all I've got to ramble about. Enjoy the rest of the speed paint. Hopefully I'll have more coming out sooner than 3 days per page, because I do want to catch up and hopefully get done by the 31st. But I honestly doubt that's going to happen, though I'm going to try. It's worth a shot.